welcome to Talking Sports with the youngster and the old man. And now, here are your hosts, Troy Robert and Kevin Cunningham.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this XFL show. I am the old man, joined by the spectacular youngster, Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny on Twitter. I'll tell you what, youngster, we're talking XFL after the biggest game in NFL, or I guess not history, but in the NFL, the Super Bowl, the day after. We're talking XFL, not Super Bowl. So nothing Super Bowl on the show today, all XFL. But before we get into that, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. But yeah, nothing, no Super Bowl talk on this show. Other shows, maybe a little different. Check out our show handle, at YoungsterOldMan on Twitter, and that's all one word, at YoungsterOldMan, for all the shows that Troy and I do. But these little quick 15-minute or so XFL shows each week are just that. They're quick, get to the point, give our 2 cents, and boom, that's it. Every single week, 15 or so minutes on the XFL. That's all it is. Strictly XFL talk. I'm good, though, Troy. How about you?
Another day at work, another day in paradise, making money, paying bills. But let's get to it. Last week we talked about the XFL. Quick little recap. You and I both agree. All we want out of the XFL, we don't want fancy-dancy storylines, drama. We don't care about that crap. We just want good football. That's what we talked about last week. If you're listening to this show, you know where to find last week's show. Go find it. It's archived. This week, Kevin, we're going to dive in, and this is what we're going to do from here on out. Every week we're going to take one topic, something at this point, since there's no XFL football, something that Vince McMahon said during his press conference or something about the XFL, and we're going to go over it. One thing that intrigued me and intrigued many people is that Vince McMahon has a rule in, and that if you have a criminal background, you are not allowed to play in the XFL. And my understanding is that goes as far down as a DUI. So when I looked at it and I heard it, I'm like, wow, that's a pretty good rule. But then as I dug into it and go, you're going to go all the way down to DUI? That might be a little harsh in my book. I can see some things, criminal background, a background check, a criminal background check that most employers, I would think that maybe 99% of employers run a criminal background check. But on that criminal background check, DUIs are not included. If you want to, and your company requires that you drive a company vehicle, I understand.
Right.
But I'm okay with the criminal rule, but I don't know if he should take it all the way down to DUI, Kevin. And I'll say this, I'm gonna let you talk about your thoughts there. I like the idea because he wants to try and make it moral. And so I'm okay with doing a criminal background check. I'm not so sure if I'm okay with bringing it all the way down to that level of a DUI. And I've got a story to share after I get your thoughts. You already know what that story is. We talked about it in our pregame. But I want to get your quick thoughts here on this criminal rule that Vince McMahon wants to impose in the XFL.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I'll say this, that going down to a DUI sounds pretty egregious, but if you're going to make this league no political, no BS league where, you know, it's not the XFL of old, and we want it extremely buttoned up and cleaned up, I get it. I understand going for that. I'll say this much, that it's going to be tough to find a lot of talented football players that have no criminal record whatsoever. And I'm not to say that, you know, you can't have fantastic players that don't have criminal records. Obviously, they're out there. Just one that automatically pops into my head, I'm guessing Andrew Luck doesn't have a criminal record. He's doing just fine. He's a talented football player. I think you can make 10 teams work with no criminal record, but all those teams having talented football players and keeping the football product on the field that high, it's just tough to me, especially when you're playing second fiddle automatically to the NFL to start this league. And so if you're starting with a not fantastic football product, year one, and you're not all that insanely entertaining on the field, I don't know if this league lasts. That's just what I take from it. Is going down to a DUI too harsh? I think DUIs are serious. I think they're something to be taken seriously. But in general, is it the end of the world if you get a DUI? Can you be a good person and still get a DUI? Can you be a good person and I'll put it this way, okay? I have a cousin, and not going to name a name, but I have a cousin who, I'll say this, that was trying to steal things as a teenager, a young adult. Okay, he was out there and trying to steal things. And now in that same industry of what he was trying to steal, he's one of the top people of one of the top companies in that industry today, making six-figure plus salary. Okay, he was once considered, has a criminal record. Absolutely. I mean, in jail, he was not a fantastic, in terms of criminal record, human being, but he still had a criminal record. He turned his life around. I love the guy now. He's my cousin. Very successful at what he does, obviously, making the type of money he does. I know his knowledge of the industry, and he's fantastic with it. He knows his stuff. He's buttoned up now. He's a great human being. I think you can learn from things in life, and so to automatically see one DUI or to see 10 DUIs, but just in general, I think, yes, looking at a criminal record, background, it makes sense. I get it. I understand it. If that's the way you want to go, I just wouldn't automatically count someone out because of one DUI or one whatever you want to throw out there. But so to me, I understand having rules in place. I would leave it open to interpretation by Vince McMahon, the owner of the league, the owner of teams, and say, hey, you had a DUI at this age. Hey, you were caught shoplifting one time in college. Whatever the case is, if it's something more egregious and you think they should not be playing in your league because of that, I get it. I just wouldn't automatically say, look, you have something on your criminal record, you're done, you can't play in this league. Not to say that you can't build a league around players who don't have criminal records. Just in general, I don't think it should be that black and white, because I know firsthand of people who have criminal records, who have turned their lives around, are good human beings now. So to me, I'm very much hard set on, if you do something wrong, typically you should be punished for it, probably more so than what you're actually going to be punished for it. I'm hard-nosed in that sense, but to automatically throw someone out and not even consider them for a job, to me, that's a little bit egregious. That's what I'll say on the topic for right now.
Well, I'm going to share a story here in a little bit, and I want to dive more into this criminal record rule, because I had been in previous roles with companies, a hiring manager where I hired people, and we would do a background check, a criminal background check, and those are subject to review.
Right.
Just because it came back with a flag didn't necessarily exclude you from employment. We had to then look at it, and then you had to get some details, and you had to see, is this thing on their criminal record something that would hamper them from doing the job correctly? Now, you look at a lot of things, time that it happened, what were the circumstances, and all of those things that go on with it. So I'm wondering, because he didn't really go too in-depth with it, and I'm sure
Right.
he will as the league forms and all the bylaws are. I would, and I hate to assume, you know what happens when you assume? It's not very good. But I would think that it would be like any place of employment. The criminal background check comes back, there's a flag. That has to be reviewed by HR, which HR in this case, Vince McMahon. And then at that point, he can make his judgment. But all I've got to say, to me, that is also a little sketchy, though, youngster, because at that point, he can be biased. I don't think it should be him reviewing any criminal background checks that come back with flags. I think he should hire a third party to review it and say, yeah, this is what happened. These are the facts. Now you can make your decision. Because if it comes down to it, you know what it's going to come down to? It's going to come down to money. And then all of a sudden, now you're going to have these debates. Like, why did you leave X player in and not O player?
Right.
What went on there? So I'm just, it bothers me a little bit. But I agree with the rule. However, being in a position that I had been prior, there are exceptions to that rule.
Yeah.
Now I want to share a quick story.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned things can happen. So something I'm not proud of, but I am a huge Green Bay Packer fan. That's where I'm from. And the Green Bay Packers won a Super Bowl in 1996, youngster. 1996, after many years of not being in the Super Bowl. And of course, I was young. I was younger than you were at the time. And of course, festivities went on, and I did something very wrong. I actually got in a car, and I drove while intoxicated and got pulled over. I received a DUI. The sad part is, at the time, I was a high school soccer coach, and I nearly lost my job. Luckily for me, the athletic director decided to give me a second chance. And it didn't come without a lot of apologies. It didn't come without a lot of teaching my kids, but I learned from it. And I'll tell you what, I was young. I was stupid. I shouldn't have done it. I did it. I paid the price as far as all the legal goes, and I pleaded no contest. But I'll tell you what, that close to losing my livelihood at the time, because I coached for nearly 14 years after that, I was that close to losing it all. And I really woke up. But I was given a second chance. Now, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad person. It was one DUI. I can see multiple DUIs on somebody's record. Yeah, well, you didn't learn your lesson. I learned my lesson. Believe me. And I became a designated driver many times after that. And any time that I touched alcohol, I did not start a car. I learned. I learned real quick. So you can learn. And that's why I worry about the DUI part of it. Because a lot of companies, a DUI is not going to cause you from not getting employment unless you're driving a company vehicle.
Right.
And my DUI happened in 96, which is, 22 years ago.
Yeah.
So I look at it, how far back is he going to go? But that's my thought on that, youngster. I mean, I like the rule. I think there's a place for it, but I think there should be at least some exception to it to review those people that have a criminal background record to see what it was in their background that was a criminal offense. And I think each of them should be looked at separately by a third party. That's my final thought, youngster. What are your final thoughts? And then we're going to wrap this show up.
Yeah, it's just that. And I'm with you 100% that it should be open to interpretation. It shouldn't be that black and white because as you've experienced personally, as I've experienced with family members, people can change. You're not automatically a bad person. If I did something tonight that appeared on my criminal record, am I automatically a bad person? And am I automatically a different person, assuming I'm a good person now? For those who don't know me. Does that automatically change who I am as a person because of one decision that I would regret and possibly learn from directly, an hour later? I'm not that harsh on one mistake in your life. So that's my stance on it. I'm with you 100%. It should be open to interpretation. It shouldn't be that, look, there's something on your criminal record when you were however old or however the severity of it. So, boom, you cannot be employed by our league. It shouldn't be like that. If it is, it's going to be interesting to see what takes place because there is absolutely going to be drama with it one way or another. Whether some guys are left out, some guys are not. That's something, if this league is that stingy on, it's going to be a topic going forward. For us, at least, to talk about, Troy, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, we have no problem talking about anything. But, we could probably go on and on about this too, but in lieu of what we've agreed to, we're right at that 15-minute mark, youngster. It's time to rock and roll. I think we made our point. I hope everybody enjoyed the show, and thanks to all the listeners. I mean, the first XFL show we did, Kevin, a huge success on the Grueling Truth. I want to give special thanks to the Grueling Truth for backing us with this XFL show. So thanks to Coach Mike Goodpaster, the founder of the Grueling Truth. For those listening in, make sure you find us on Twitter and talk to us about the XFL or any sports. Find our show handle at Youngster Old Man. It's where our links to all of our shows, because Kevin and I do a number of shows together. But follow us individually at Troy Robert 967 is myself, and the spectacular youngster is at Kid Cunny, KIDCUNI on Twitter. Hope you enjoyed this week's show, everybody. Find us on Twitter. Let us know what you want us to talk about next week. And I put it out there this week, Kevin. Anybody that tweets us, tweets may be used on the air for this show. Hope everybody enjoyed. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Talking Sports with the Youngster and the Old Man. Please come back again next time as Troy and Kevin share the latest news in the world of sports.